The fourth most common ingredient on your food label is hiding a secret. It's called natural flavors, and it's in over 1/3 of packaged foods in the US. Think about the seltzer that you've been sipping on all afternoon or the yogurt that you had for breakfast this morning. Chances are that those two little words are on the label. You see the word natural and you instantly think that it's simple, safe, and from real ingredients. But that's a carefully crafted illusion. Today we're exposing the truth. So, what does the government say a natural flavor actually is? This isn't actually just a marketing term, it has a very specific legal definition from the FDA. I'll show it on the screen, and as you can see, it's pretty long, so feel free to take a moment to pause and read the entire thing. That's a mouthful, but what it boils down to is this. The definition is all about the origin of the primary flavor molecule. It has to start with a real plant or animal source. But here's the catch that changes everything. While the starting material has to be a natural source, the processing enables other synthetic chemicals to be added to the equation. That final natural flavor mixture can legally contain a cocktail of synthetic, artificial chemicals created by flavorists who add things like solvents, emulsifiers, and preservatives. These are called incidental additives, and they can make up the vast majority, oftentimes 80 to 90%, of natural flavors. But because they're considered processing aids, they don't need to be disclosed separately on the ingredient label. They all fall under this umbrella term, natural flavors. So when you see the term natural flavors, you're not getting crushed up strawberries to create that strawberry flavor. You're literally getting a mystery lab-made concoction. So if these flavors are allowed to contain various chemical additives, surely the FDA is rigorously testing these chemicals to ensure that they're safe for human consumption, right? Well, actually, no. Most of these ingredients actually enter our food supply through a pretty controversial process known as Generally Recognized as Safe, or GRAS. This system was created back in 1958 with a good intention: to exempt common, everyday food items like salt, vinegar, and other spices from a long and expensive formal approval process. But over the decades, this exemption has become a massive legal loophole, and in fact, over 850 chemical additives have been added to our food system via the GRAS loophole since 2000. Here's how it works. A company that creates a new flavor chemical doesn't need to submit it to the FDA for a long approval process. Instead, it can use one of two pathways to get GRAS status. First is known as Self-affirmed GRAS. Through this pathway, a company can hire its own panel of paid experts to determine whether a new chemical that they've created is safe for consumption. And they're actually under no legal obligation to report this to the FDA if they determine that the chemical is safe. They can just start putting it into our food, and the FDA, the very organization meant to review these types of things and protect us, remains completely in the dark. Experts estimate that over 1,000 chemical additives have been added to our food system through this pathway without any notice given to the FDA. And the only people who can testify to the safety of these chemicals are the very people who are profiting from their use in food. It's a very clear and troubling conflict of interest, to say the least. The second pathway is used much less frequently, with just about 10 uses since the year 2000, and it is voluntary notification to the FDA. A company can choose to bring a new chemical to the FDA along with scientific research that supports it, as well as descriptions of its intended use in food. And the FDA can review this data and issue a no questions letter, which isn't exactly a formal approval, but rather them just saying that they don't have any objections to the findings from the company. But the catch here is that, like I already mentioned, this pathway is hardly ever used, and when it is, if the FDA doesn't submit a no questions letter, but rather comes back with some questions regarding the safety, the companies can still choose to withdraw this and go through the first pathway that we discussed to legally sell the ingredient through its self-affirmed GRAS status. This complete lack of transparency can have real health consequences. First, chemicals that are known or suspected to cause harm can sneak their way into our food without us even realizing that they're there. Known examples of this include BHA, which is reasonably anticipated to be a human carcinogen by the National Toxicology Program, based on studies that have shown that it causes tumors in various animals that have been tested. This ingredient has been completely banned from the food system in the EU, but in the US, generally recognized as safe by the FDA when used in certain concentrations. Potassium bromate is another example. It's an oxidizing agent commonly used in bread in the United States. Studies have shown that it can damage DNA and cause cancer. It's also banned from food use in the EU, as well as many other countries around the world. But in the US, it is generally recognized as safe for consumption. Propylparaben is another example. It's used in the US as a preservative in food, and it's a known hormone disruptor. It's banned in the EU, and actually California in the US will start to ban it from its food supply starting in 2027. Again, I'll emphasize that the issue here is that ingredients like these can be in any food with natural or artificial flavoring, and it doesn't need to be disclosed to consumers. Consumers are left completely in the dark about what they're ingesting. Sneaking chemicals and different ingredients into our food through these umbrella terms can also have other obvious health consequences if people are sensitive to certain types of foods, or if they're vegan or vegetarian. Certain natural flavorings could be derived from animal products or from products that people are sensitive to, and they really have no way of telling what the initial source of these flavorings were. This could lead to reactions like hives, digestive issues, migraines, or even consuming foods that don't fall within your diet. Another outcome, and I want to stress the importance of this point, is the role that flavorings have in ultra-processed foods. Added flavors are a hallmark of these products, which a growing body of research links to obesity, type 2 diabetes, cardiovascular disease, and even cancer. The reality is that these flavors are engineered to make you overeat. In a stunning 2011 interview on CBS, 2 flavor scientists from one of the world's largest flavoring companies actually admitted that they're engineering these ingredients to cause a quick flavor burst that fades quickly so that you keep coming back for more. And they agreed that the term addiction was a great way to describe what they were going for with these products. To see how wild this can get, let's take a quick look at a case study. Diacetyl. This is the chemical that gives certain foods a rich, buttery flavor. It's classified as generally regarded as safe through the GRAS loophole. But in the early 2000s, workers who were working at a microwavable popcorn facility started getting devastating, irreversible lung disease. The cause? Inhaling high concentrations of diacetyl. They called this condition popcorn lung. It's generally regarded as safe to consume, but it's not regarded as safe to inhale. This distinction has allowed it to be in food additives and flavorings in the United States. Now, maybe this compound is safe to consume, or maybe it's not. The reality is that consumers should be able to tell if it's in the food that they're consuming and make their own decisions. But because it's grouped under the umbrella term natural flavors, there's no way to tell what foods it's actually in. All right, now for a few common myths that we're going to debunk. The first is that everything is made up of chemicals, so worrying about what's in natural flavors is just fear-mongering. You may have seen this viral photo of a strawberry that's broken down into all of its different chemical components. But this is where things are being misconstrued. The fact that natural flavors are made up of chemicals isn't necessarily the issue with them. The problem is that the chemical compounds don't have to be disclosed on the label. There's an utter lack of transparency that enables potentially unsafe chemicals to enter the flavor during processing to make your food hyper-palatable. And this is completely unbeknownst to the consumer. Next. Natural flavors are healthier than artificial flavors, right? Not necessarily. The main difference between natural and artificial flavors is the origin of the main flavor compound. Natural flavors must be plant or animal derived, whereas artificial flavors are lab synthesized. Natural and artificial flavors in 2 different compounds could be made up of the exact same chemicals. The only difference would be the process used to create them. And again, because companies don't have to disclose what is in these flavors, it's impossible for consumers to determine which is better or worse just by looking at the ingredient label. Third is that organic natural flavors are healthy. This is a tricky one because if you're going to buy a product that has added flavors, the best option that you can pick is to go with organic natural flavors. But it's not the perfect or healthy solution that many people are led to believe that it is. The rules for organic natural flavors are much stricter. They cannot be produced using synthetic extractive solvents, they cannot contain artificial preservatives like BHT, and they must be non-GMO. To be labeled an organic natural flavor, 95% of the ingredients within the flavoring must be organic. And this is definitely a step up from just regular natural or artificial flavors. But, and this is the crucial part, none of this solves the main problem of transparency. Even with an organic label, the term natural flavor is still a black box. You still, as a consumer, have no way of knowing the myriad of compounds and chemicals that have been combined in a lab to create that flavor. Okay, this is a lot, I know, but the goal here isn't to scare you, it's to empower you. So, what can we actually do as consumers? First, the most effective strategy is obvious. Avoid eating anything with natural or artificial flavoring. The easiest way to do this is to prioritize eating whole foods. When you cook with real fruit, vegetables, meat, and spices, you're fully in control. Second, read the entire ingredient list on any foods that you buy. I literally bought organic butter from the store the other day, only to come home and realize that the second ingredient on the label was natural flavors. I'm working on something really exciting to help bring transparency back to the food industry, so please check out the link in the description if you're interested in learning more and getting the inside scoop. Now I want to hear from you. What's the most shocking thing that you've learned from this video? Was it the GRAS loophole, the popcorn lung story, or something else? Drop it in the comments below. And if you found this video valuable, hitting like or subscribe really tells YouTube to circulate it to more people so that we can spread proper information and allow informed consent within the food industry. It will cost you nothing and it would really help me out. So I would really appreciate you taking just a few moments out of your day to support this cause. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.